Hi guys, welcome back to Suzanne Wachtel, Living Your Best Life. Today's podcast is about a very interesting topic. I call it expanded versus limited thinking. Did you ever notice that certain people have a mentality of very limited thinking? They don't have a big imagination. They have a lot of anxiety. They're very limited in what they believe. They're limited in what they can imagine. So to me, an imagination could be anything you imagine, right? It's our imagination. Think of Alice in Wonderland. I mean, if that wasn't imagination, I don't know what it was. But an imagination can be anything you imagine in the whole world. But limited thinkers tend to really limit their imagination. They limit the possibilities. They limit what can happen in their lives. And so when you have this knowledge of how to expand your thinking, how to think big, how to think out of the box, how to actually be extravagant with the way you think about things, you actually attract and can possibly create endless possibilities. It's kind of an interesting topic because most people just think the way they think and they are who they are, like Popeye, I am who I am. And I want to challenge you today that if you think about things one way, I want you to imagine thinking about them in a larger context. So let's just say that you're in a job and you don't like the job. It's really not interesting. It doesn't give you purpose. You have to wear a suit, and it doesn't really jive with who you are and what you love to do. But you stay in this job because the fear, the limited thinking that you need the money, and without that money and without that job, your life would fall apart and you would, and then our mind tends to spiral down. We won't get another job and then we'll be, broke and we won't be able to make our payments, etc., etc., etc. So that fear, which is very, very closely connected to a limited thinker, keeps us trapped in that space. So let's stick with the job. Now, let's say you really sit down and think about, this actually happened with one of my patients years ago. He was trapped in a job. His father approved of the job. It paid for his basic pays, but he dreaded going to work every day. He was gaining weight. He was depressed. He was very, very unhappy. So he came in and I said to him, well, let's try some expanded thinking. That's your limited beliefs that got you there, your limited thinking. In a crazy world, let's imagine, what do you love to do? And he said, oh, I love tennis. I go, you're kidding. He goes, oh yeah, I love tennis. I'm great at tennis. I'm like a pro. People pay me for lessons. I said, so how would you feel getting paid as your job to work in tennis? He said, oh, that would be a dream, but I don't know. My father may not like that. And then the fear came in and the limited thinking. I said, well, let's just remove the fears and the limited thinking. Let's keep going with this expanded thinking idea. I said, well, we live in Florida. Therefore, weather-wise, you would have a year-round opportunity. He goes, that's true. I said, you love tennis and you're naturally good at it. How would you feel going to work every day? He said, oh my God, it would be a dream. Okay, so you deserve to have a job you love to do every day. Where would I do it? I said, well, let's think. There are tennis places. There are many, many, many private clubs that have a tennis section that need pros. And not only that, there's private schools that use tennis as one of their PE, their exercise options. He said, oh my gosh. I said, so before you quit your job, why not explore the different opportunities? So he did. He made me a list of the different clubs within a 20-mile range of his home and the 10 private schools. And one by one he applied, and within literally 2 weeks, because he expanded his thinking, he was hired by a private school to be a pro for the tennis, and literally quit his job and has been there now for 5 years. Thrilled, growing and growing, teaching at summer camp, etc. So when you use this expanded thinking versus fearful, limited thinking, it can change your entire perspective, and it can change the choices and the directions you take in your life. So let's think of something else that is a limited thinking. Okay, let's say a relationship. Let's say you met someone and, you've been together for a while, but you've come to notice that you're not so compatible, that your dreams are now become kind of different directions, but yet there's this comfort zone, this fear, this limited thinking. If I break up, who would want me? It'll be hard to find someone. So the limited thinking and the fear that you may not find anyone else will just stay in there. So the expanded thinking is to think about, wow, if I were to imagine someone, what would they look like, she or he? What were the qualities they would possess? What are their life goals that I would feel compatible with? And you start to imagine your relationship with someone else. And then you get to decide with limited thinking versus expanded thinking, should I stay here because I'm afraid? Or should I end things and see where it happens? So if taking a chance, and I've seen this happen, and closing that door within a very short time, with imagination, expanded thinking, and seeing what you deserve and what you want, you attract a relationship that's better suited for you. This goes for everything, from jobs to choices in all of our choices in life. We have to decide, do we want to remain a limited thinker, fear-driven, or do we want to bust loose and become an expanded thinker, a believer, using our imagination of the possibilities that could happen? So I vote for expanded thinking, imagining what you want, feeling what it feels like, and attracting it as if it were manifesting itself into your life. So good luck. Throw away that limited thinking shit, please, and become an expanded thinker like me. Have a beautiful day. Mwah. Bye.